Here we have the Grand Design Solitude following our first trip of the year down into a warmer climate. We're back now. We're still on the East Coast in late February, so there is a good chance that we're going to experience some more freezing weather before the winter is officially over. So we are going to winterize the camper without using any of the typical pink colored antifreeze that you would normally see. The only things that we need are our air compressor and this little blowout tube that will hook in directly to our city water connection. We're going to fire up our air compressor, but we need to turn down the pressure on our air compressor down to about 30 psi. That way we don't damage any of the lines or connections inside of our camper while we blow out the lines. So let's get this thing turned on and pressurized. All right, so we have our compressor pressurized, the lines hooked up. We're just gonna turn the tool pressure down. We don't want to damage any of our lines inside the camper, so we're going to turn this down somewhere around 30-40 psi. This unit has PEX lines inside. The PEX lines can handle a little bit more pressure than, say, plastic lines would or PVC. So right now I have the drain lines at the lowest point of our water system open. So when I hook up the air compressor, the first thing that's going to blow out is our drain lines. Then we're going to close the drain lines, pressurize the entire camper, and then go to each faucet inside the camper individually and open that up so that water lines will purge throughout the camper. So our pressure dropped to 0, so I need to increase pressure again. Our tank is going to bleed down rapidly. You can see the water coming out. Now as our water stops bleeding out, we'll close the drain peacocks and allow the air pressure to build throughout the entire camper's water system. Here's an often forgotten line. This is on our passenger side of the Grand Design. This line right here goes from our water manifold on the driver's side over to the passenger side so that you can wash things out right next to your front pass-through storage. Well, this line often gets forgotten. It can either freeze or the water that remains inside this line may begin smelling because of the water starting to mold. So it's important to also free this line of any trapped water. That way you don't get the bad smells. Now you'll notice a lot of the contents coming out of the line is just simply mist, and most of that is just the compressed air starting to expand. We're not so much concerned about this mist that's forming. We're more concerned about the water in the line because that may freeze and cause damage. So a good practice is to start blowing out your lines at the back side of the camper or the furthest place away from where the water enters the camper. And so for us, that's the rear bathroom. We'll drain out both sinks, let all the water purge. And just look at how much water comes out. This is also why starting at the back of the camper is so important, because if we start out in the back, most of the water is going to drain out of the lines all the way through the camper. And when we go to the other water outlet, they'll be mostly purged. And as you can see, some of the water is still coming out. So we want to make sure most of that water is out of there. Just little drops are not going to hurt anything if they were to freeze during a cold weather spell. Now these smaller nozzles are one of the ones I'm worried about because just a little bit of water inside those small nozzles can cause damage. I'll just keep rotating the handle until I'm satisfied that most of the water is out. Even our little half bath here will have some water in the sink. Don't forget about your toilets. And finally, to our last spot, the kitchen sink. This is the closest water outlet to our water manifold. You can see most of the water is gone. Very little water coming back out of either nozzle. Now you may ask yourself, what about the traps or our drain lines? Well, most of that water is going to drain out down into the tanks, and inside the tanks, if the water were to freeze, it's not going to do any damage at the bottom of the tank, especially just less than a quarter gallon. We're more concerned about the water lines themselves. And you can see each time I go to a new faucet and let the water purge, just a little bit more water sneaks all the way back here to the back of the camper, which is once again why we want to start back here. And that's going to do it. A very quick, less than 15-minute job, and that will keep our camper winterized good enough for the rest of our short remaining winter season.
As always, thank you for joining us here for another episode of Thrust and Thunder. If you like the content that you're seeing, please like and subscribe. You can always leave a comment down below, and we look forward to seeing you on the next one.